Hey everybody, so we're going to take a look at this video today from Andre Walker. It's probably the worst video I've seen from him, and it's a complete sellout video where he's going to be singing the praises of Nigel Farage, and it's just an awful video. It really is, and I'll just play it and we'll go through it together.
Versus Rupert Lowe. This video is about to tell you the truth of the situation. Some of you won't like it, some of you will unsubscribe, some of you will make a comment having a go at me. Oh, you sell out, you're a disgrace, how dare you do this?
So the thing is, right, that if you do sell out to somebody, and that's exactly what you're doing in this video, then you deserve the label as a sellout. The reason you're saying this at the beginning of the video is because you know what people are going to say. You know what conclusions people are going to come to based on everything that you're going to say in this video. And all the evidence of what you're saying here points to you being a sellout. So if you're being a sellout, just own it. Just admit it. Yeah, I'm selling out. I'm selling out to Nigel Farage. Because that's exactly what you do in this video.
Some of you will say that I'm being unfair to Farage, and some people say I'm being unfair to Rupert Lowe. But here it is, unvarnished. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, but most importantly, join the Patriot Fund. We're going to send out a new video monthly update that goes privately to you in the next day or two, depending on when the emails all come through. Okay, so let's get to the update. Nigel Farage has probably treated Rupert Lowe badly, and Rupert Lowe has probably treated Nigel Farage badly. If you watch an earlier video by me,
Right, that first statement there, he says, Nigel Farage has probably treated Rupert Lowe badly, and Rupert Lowe has probably treated Nigel Farage badly. What a load of rubbish. Who started this? Right, Rupert Lowe was basically trying, as well as Ben Habib in the background before he got kicked out of the party, Rupert Lowe in the background was trying to get the Reform Party to have some structure, to have concrete policy that everybody could use, to have spokespeople for certain topics. And that fell on deaf ears. In fact, he was ridiculed and isolated from certain meetings because that's what he wanted. So it got to the point where Rupert Lowe got so frustrated that he had to kind of go public in an interview to call out Nigel Farage for not doing these things. And then Nigel Farage got a bruised ego and then went on to try and completely destroy Rupert Lowe's career, character assassinate him, didn't he? They even called the police on the guy from bogus claims. They tried to smear him. So your definition of Nigel Farage treating Rupert Lowe badly is very, very mild. At most, he tried to destroy Rupert Lowe as a person and his career. So I would go a little bit further than say that he treated Rupert Lowe badly. I would say he treated Rupert Lowe appallingly and was a massive coward in what he did. He's a despicable human being, is Nigel Farage.
I make the point that this reeks of Conservative Central Office dirty tricks. That is to say, what they've consistently attempted to do at all points is to drive a wedge within Reform. That is to say to...
Drive a wedge within Reform. So who exactly is driving the wedge within Reform? Who is responsible for that? I would say it's Nigel Farage by his actions, isn't it? He's U-turned on policy. He's alienated branches who have turned against him. He does this to every single person who is coming up the ranks, who has potential to be a leader. He gets rid of them and smears them and wrecks their careers. There's a trail. There's 50 people over the last, 20 years that Nigel Farage has destroyed their careers, smeared them, tried to destroy them. So this isn't an isolated incident, is it, with Nigel Farage?
People, well, Farage's a bit of a liability, he's not that good. You're the man for the job, Ticey. You're the man for the job, Lowe. And actually both of them have been heavily targeted by positive media coverage, whilst Farage has been heavily targeted with negative.
So you see what he's trying to do here, Andre Walker. He's trying to apologise for Nigel Farage, saying it's not really his fault. He's been unfairly targeted by negative press. So he's trying to take away agency from Nigel Farage and the actions that Nigel Farage has actually. It's not his fault. It's not his fault that he acted like a complete narcissist and tried to destroy a man's career. It's not his fault. So Nigel Farage has no agency over his actions. It's never his fault. Complete apologist, Andre Walker. Complete apologist for Nigel Farage, and it's sickening. We've all seen the interviews that people have done on various podcasts saying that Nigel Farage has destroyed their career, promised them things, and then gone back on the deal and thrown them under the bus.
Media coverage. And I think that's because they've got 5 MPs. I was about to say all.
Well, they've actually got 4 MPs now because Rupert Lowe's been kicked out of the party. But hey, you know, what's being consistent with the facts?
All of whom have a strong personality. Let's be fair, most of whom have a strong personality. Certainly Farage, Lowe, and Tice, and obviously Lee Anderson have big personalities. Not so sure about absolutely everybody else. But, of course, that Dirty Tricks campaign has been so damaging. Richard Tice ignored it, but of course there are other people who haven't ignored it, and I think Rupert Lowe is one of them. The other thing is, I'm going to say this to you.
What Dirty Tricks campaign? What Dirty Tricks campaign? You've provided no evidence for it. You've just stated it. And I'm going to say, whatever you state without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. There's no evidence there's been a Dirty Tricks campaign by the Tory party. From what I can see, all this is internal. This is all stemming from Nigel Farage and his inability to take criticism. And his control freak nature, wanting to micromanage everything within the party himself, centralising power around himself all the time, and getting rid of anybody that shows any leadership potential or that could be a threat to him as leader or as being more popular than he is. He has a track record of this. Even when he was in UKIP, when he was in the Brexit Party, are you saying to me that this was all a conspiracy by the Conservatives in all this time to destroy Nigel Farage? Or is Nigel Farage responsible for his own actions and the way that he treats people? This is just ludicrous. This has got to be the most insane theory about trying to apologise for Nigel Farage that I've seen yet.
With the greatest of respect, if you want to learn something about extremism, go out onto the streets and watch a Christian preacher. Then walk up to that Christian preacher and say, I go to church every Sunday, or I go to church every day, and explain to them how you are genuine and fulsome Christian. What will happen is, the megaphone will come out and they'll start screaming abuse in your face. And you think, hang on a second, why would I get more abuse than just a normal...
Complete horseshit argument. Absolute rubbish. I've seen many Christian street preachers in the street, and I've never seen them do that to anybody yet. The only people I've seen them do that to is the far left, when they go up to them and they start heckling them. That's the only people I've seen them do it to. I've not seen them do it to other Christians or anything like that. Most are very respectful of other people. It's just a bad analogy. It's just a bad example of what he's talking about. I don't know why he's made this video, but it's just awful. It's just awful.
Person walking the street. The reason is this: that person's raison d'etre is to be a better Christian than you. Right? That's why they're there, to make themselves feel good about being the best possible Christian. And so, no matter how much you pander to them, you will not be good enough for them. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There are people on the internet who feel the same way about right-wing politics. Whatever I say, there will be people in the comment section who call me a sellout. You just have to accept that. And if the reason why you watch my videos...
Yeah, but if you're being a sellout, you're being a sellout, which is what you're doing in this video. You're going against all the principles that you've said in previous videos, and it just looks suspicious that you're now singing the praises of Nigel Farage. It looks like you've sold out to the Reform Party, which is exactly what you've done. So if you're doing a thing, and again, it's like you're trying to make excuses for why you've sold out. Just own it. Just say, yeah, I now support the Reform Party and Nigel Farage. Don't use mealy words and start saying, oh, people are going to attack me for selling out. Yeah, of course they're going to attack you for selling out, because you're misrepresenting the facts in this video, and you're basically spreading misinformation about what's actually happened with the Reform Party. So yeah, you're going to get called out for it.
Is because you want to feel that I'm a sellout compared to you. You're one of those people. That doesn't make you bad, doesn't make you evil.
No, I'm just in. I have all the facts. I've seen all the evidence. You're choosing to ignore those facts now, so you can cozy up to the Reform Party, and that's why you're getting called out for it. It's not because I think I'm better than you. I just have the facts, and now you're ignoring the facts to try and justify your position that you're now taking. That's the difference. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I just point out the facts. And when I see somebody selling out like you're doing right now, I call you out for it, because you're trying to justify it with misinformation, saying that the Tory party is conducting secret operations against the Reform Party. But they may be doing that. But we've got to look internally at the Reform Party about what they've been doing. Nigel Farage has agency. What he has been doing has been destroying the party. The things that he's been saying. He's not being forced to say those things, is he? He wasn't forced to report Rupert Lowe to the police. He wasn't forced to release the KC report early against the wishes of Rupert Lowe's lawyer. He wasn't forced to do those things. He did these things on purpose to try and destroy Rupert Lowe.
The extraordinary dissent is an important part of politics. People who will never back down is an important part of politics. But you have to understand that in that scenario, I'm not somebody who's ever going to impress you, and I'm not going to keep you happy. Equally, I will say about people watching my video, if you watch this just because you completely hate everything I say, nothing wrong with that. It's a debate video. Where the problem has gone, in my view, is this, is that Rupert Lowe has listened to a lot of this and taken it on board. I thought mass deportations meant throwing everyone out who was illegal and throwing everybody out who has committed crime in the country, who are dual nationals when they were born overseas. Actually, there are people talking about throwing out every single person who is non-white or every single person who's from an immigrant family. You can't do that. I would not have allowed...
Right, Rupert Lowe has never said that. He has never said that once. And notice how he switched from Rupert Lowe saying that he would kick out people that have committed crimes, who are illegal immigrants, to then switching saying people have said, he's heard people saying that they want to kick out families that have been here and have done nothing wrong. So he switched there. Notice the switch. We'll go back and look at it again. Listen to his words, what he actually says.
In the country who are dual nationals when they were born overseas. Actually, there are people talking about throwing out
There, people talking about, not Rupert Lowe, other people talking about this.
Every single person who's non-white or every single person who's from an immigrant family.
Yeah, Rupert Lowe's never said that. What Rupert Lowe has actually said is that those that are involved with the grooming gangs, if they knew about what was going on and they kept their mouths shut, then they should be deported. Definitely. They should have, and I agree with this, they should have their citizenship revoked, like we did with the Shamara Begum, the ISIS bride. They should have their citizenship revoked and kicked out of the country and sent back to the country of their origin. Definitely. Regardless of whether they've got dual nationality or not. We would do the same with terrorists, and I think it's the same thing here. It's despicable. These people kept quiet while young girls were being trafficked, having things done to them that were completely despicable and passed around by these gangs in this country. And anybody who kept quiet about that should have their nationality revoked and kicked out of the country for that. Definitely. Absolutely 100% I agree with Rupert Lowe on that. But he's never said that he wants to go out and deport everybody that's non-white and deport people that have done nothing wrong at all. He's never said that. And this is the part of your video where you're spreading misinformation about Rupert Lowe. He never said those things. And this is you trying to smear his character. You swapped halfway through that statement by saying, people have said, not Rupert Lowe. So trying to equate what they've said with what Rupert Lowe has said. And that's a completely despicable thing to do, in my opinion.
Can't do that. I would not have allowed the level of immigration had I been the Prime Minister over the past few years. But the idea of throwing out law-abiding citizens who came here lawfully at our request is not acceptable. Now,
and Rupert Lowe has never said that he would. He's never said that he would. And you know he hasn't. And you know that what you've just said there is complete and utter bullshit.
if that upsets you, I'm extremely sorry to say that. But look, the reality is Rupert Lowe has supported the sort of mass deportations which are throwing people out who are legally here. That, I think, is dangerous, and I think it's dangerous electorally.
No, he hasn't. Where's your evidence for this? You're just stating this stuff without any evidence. I'd expect if you're going to accuse Rupert Lowe of something, to actually provide evidence. The only thing he has said is that the people involved, because they do have dual nationality, the majority of these people, the people involved in the grooming gangs have dual nationality. So what he has said is that the people involved should be deported from the country. I agree. And any of their family members that kept quiet and knew about what their family members are doing, they should also be deported. And I agree with that as well. We're getting rid of these people from our country. But Rupert Lowe has never said that he wants to get rid of law-abiding citizens from this country. He has never said that. And that's a damn right lie. And you know that.
For reform. Now, let me give you a go. Let's have a go at Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is an egotist who has a solidly poor track record of dealing with people who overshadow him. And
a poor record. Notice how he tones down everything about Nigel Farage. What he's doing here. He has a poor reputation of dealing with people. He wrecks people's careers, smears them and throws them under the bus. He wrecks their careers. Let's get this straight. He has wrecked over 50 people's careers, thrown them under the bus and destroyed them, smeared them. That's not being able to deal with people properly. Toning down the language there, Andre. You're just disgusted in this video. It's just awful.
His personal ego has caused the party significant damage in the past. And what I would say is, with both Lowe and Farage, you can't get to where you get to. Chairman of Southampton Football Club, leader of...
Yeah, Rupert Lowe hasn't spent the last 20 years destroying people's careers and stepping over the corpses of people to get to where he is. Rupert Lowe hasn't done that. He's worked hard to build up his businesses himself, and he's rewarded those around him that have helped him get to where he is. You can't say that about Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage has a closet full of skeletons in his cupboard. People that he's knifed in the back to get where he is. He's been ruthless and he's been despicable. He's been disgusting in the things that he's done. Look at Clacton. Let's look at Clacton, a recent event, shall we? Right? So the guy there spent, the original candidate, who was going to win that seat, by the way. It wasn't because Nigel Farage went there that they managed to win the Clacton seat. It was already polling to win Clacton before Nigel Farage even touched it. The guy there spent £8,000 of his own money to campaign and to get elected in Clacton. Nigel Farage parachutes in, kicks him out, takes his place, gives him a guarantee and says, I'll pay you £8,000 back and we'll give you a position in the Reform Party. None of those things happened. Nigel Farage took his seat, won the seat, and that guy's now out in the cold. That's what Nigel Farage does, and that's something you're neglecting to mention in this video.
UKIP and now leader of Reform, unless you're single-minded. And I think the truth, when I said about this, what you expected me to say, and some people go, oh, clickbait. Actually, the truth of the matter is, the solution to this is to have a more fulsome political party.
You're not revealing any truth. You've not revealed any truth at the minute. The only thing that I've uncovered in your video at the minute is misinformation and downright lies at the minute.
Press when I was in Birmingham, when they talked about having 400 local branches. 400 out of 650, I think, is a major achievement. And I've been on this channel, remember, as somebody who's...
Yeah, you can waffle on about how many branches they've got, but how many branches have actually defected, disbanded, or quit over Nigel Farage's actions since he's been in Parliament? You don't mention that either. You don't mention the fact that Amber Valley in Derbyshire just got rid of for no reason. Gone. The one in Stratford, gone. No reason given. You haven't mentioned the stringent vetting policy that's now been brought in to the Reform Party that is kicking out, basically is designed to kick out anybody that is right-wing. Anybody that's right-wing. It's even going as far as to kicking people out of the party who have put swear words in Facebook posts. That's how strict the vetting policy is within the Reform Party. They're getting rid of anybody that shows any sign of being able to challenge the leadership. That's what's happening. This is why branches are quitting, they're resigning, they're stepping down. The chairwoman of Isle of Wight stepped down, quit. The day after, the entire board of Isle of Wight stepped down because of Nigel Farage's actions towards Rupert Lowe. Everybody in the party can see what Nigel Farage is doing. Except for you, because you're cozying up to him for some reason. I don't know what Nigel Farage has promised you. I don't know if he's promised you anything at all. But you seem to be cozying up to him pretty well. The fact of the matter is, Andre, you wouldn't be allowed in the Reform Party. You wouldn't. Under their new vetting process. Because you've supported Tommy Robinson in the past. Anybody that supports Tommy Robinson, kicked out of the party. You can't have shown any support for Tommy Robinson. So you wouldn't even be allowed in the party. As a member or as a candidate. And that's the truth of the matter.
Reasonably experienced in politics, saying that there was no chance whatsoever they'd get anywhere near being able to set up a branch for every seat they're competitive in. And the fact they've done that. Now, once again, I'm going to say, you're going to say to me, this is boring. What you thought I was going to say was, here's the inside story on the harassment, here's the inside story on Zia Youssef, here's the inside story on who's reported whom to the police and who's suing whom and what's going to happen in court. That video is not of any value, plus there's billions of them already out there. Every right-wing commentator's made one so far, apart from me. The truth of the matter is this, that the egos have landed and both egos need to deal with it. Now, I think it's legit.
No. The ego has landed, and that will be Nigel Farage's ego. This is where all this disruption has stemmed from, and it's always the case in everything that Nigel Farage touches, from UKIP to the Brexit Party. His ego always gets in the way, and that's what all these rallies are that he goes to. These are just Nigel Farage stroking rallies. He is the problem. Nigel Farage is the problem in the party. If he'd have stayed away from politics, the Reform would have been shooting forward under the leadership of probably Ben Habib and Richard Tice, maybe even Rupert Lowe would have been in there. Without Zia Youssef, Nigel Farage are the toxic elements within the Reform Party. They're the ones that are dragging the party down. That's the truth. And I'm saying I'm revealing more truth in my video than you are in yours.
Legitimate for Nigel Farage in terms of party management, and more importantly for Lee Anderson in terms of party management, to call out a member of Parliament who's questioned the leader's ability to lead.
I think it's the duty of every member of the party to question the leadership. It is. Because if the leader's doing a poor job, then they need to be replaced. It's happened in the Tory party. This is why they have the ability to remove the leader and get a new one. It's when they send their letters in. They send their letters in, the MPs, saying that they've got no confidence in the leadership, and then there's a membership election to elect a new leader. The Reform Party doesn't have that. The Reform Party has 2 directors that cannot be removed from leadership positions. All the subscribers can do is lobby the 50%, by the way, it has to be 50% of the membership has to lobby the board to ask the chair to ask the leader of the party to step down. Only ask, not remove, ask. And that's not democracy, is it?
I will say that as far as I'm concerned, now Reform UK is locked. All of these people saying that Rupert Lowe should be the leader, it's never going to happen. Not that he's a bad guy, it's just the policy now is locked and you need to keep going with that policy. And so I think a more fulsome democracy in Reform is something that's incredibly useful. Ben Habib has campaigned for it for a long time, and I think Ben Habib, also a great guy with a giant ego, needs to come back into Reform and push forward those things. Because what we can't do...
Notice what he's doing. He's smearing both Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe as having massive egos, but their egos haven't destroyed anybody's careers, have they? They just haven't. Not like Nigel Farage. He's got a trail of people that he's thrown under the bus to get where he is. And Carl Benjamin brought this up in a tweet. After, 30 years in politics and on the stage of the Reform Party conference in Birmingham, he only has 9 allies. 9 allies in 30 years of political discourse. And that's because he's thrown everybody under the bus. And the only reason he keeps Richard Tice around is because he knows he's no threat. Tice is no threat. He knows he hasn't. Farage knows he hasn't got the ability to lead the party. Look at what happened before he came back. Nobody really liked Tice as leader because he was just weak. And that's why he's kept around. Farage knows that.
And this is the reason why I'm backing Nigel and I'm backing Reform. Because we can't all have a hissy fit every time there's a bit of a problem.
A bit of a problem? Right, so you call completely U-turning on some of their policies a bit of a hiccup, a bit of a hissy fit. Really. This is why people are turning away from the Reform Party. It's because they've become a party that nobody wanted. They were supposed to be a centre-right party. And that's what people were voting for in the general election. And then we've got Lee Anderson coming out and saying and correcting a GB News presenter and saying that we're not centre-right, we're just a centrist party, which means they're in the middle, which means they can go either way. They can have centre-left policies, they could have centre-right policies. But from what I can see of them, they have centre-left policies. They're trying to court the Muslim vote. They're trying to court the liberal lefties that they shouldn't be courting because they're never going to vote for the Reform Party. They've already made their minds up. Those people are either going to vote for the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats. They're never going to vote for Reform because as far as they're concerned, we can see from the rally that was held in Birmingham, these people were protesting outside. They see the Reform Party as a far-right party. They are never going to vote for them. And that as for the Muslims, they're never going to vote for them either. They're not even going to vote for the Labour Party or the Liberal Dems. They're going to vote for the new independent parties that are rising to power over the next 4 years. So the Reform Party should have prepared for that and said, right, we need to get everybody on board with us that is for right-wing policies. Get on the right wing, get them behind us. Because the fact of the matter is, there's more of those people than there are of the left-wing type that would join the party. And I agree with Dan Wootton. By the time the Reform Party gets to power, or even gets anywhere near power, I don't think they're going to win the next general election. I think they'll have to enter into some kind of agreement, into some sort of coalition. I think they may just scrape in, but need another party to get a majority. Then by the time they've done that, they're not going to be the party that anybody actually wants. They're just going to be full of Tory melts and liberals, just like the Tory party was. And then we'll have another 5 years of the same shit that we got with the Tories and Labour. That's what's going to happen. I know this is a long video, guys. I'm sorry. But, I have to do this sometimes.
Look at this, and I think to myself, we can't be like the Life of Brian, the Judean People's Front, and People's Front of Judea. That joke on the Life of Brian was a joke about the way the political left immediately, whenever they get together in a group and they're onto a good thing, immediately split apart. And for me, I think that Nigel...
Yeah, but people are splitting from the Reform Party for good reason, because it's not the party that it was before the general election. If Nigel Farage has said, right, we're going to move to the centre ground, we're going to be a centrist party, they wouldn't have got half the votes that they would have got. If they'd have said before the general election that we want nothing to do with that lot regarding the people that went to the Unite the Kingdom protests, they wouldn't have got all the votes. Tommy Robinson wouldn't have endorsed them. He wouldn't have given them a boost in their votes. And then regardless of what anybody says, Tommy Robinson coming out and saying you need to vote for the Reform Party did give them a massive boost in some areas. He did. So I don't think... They may be polling really high. In fact, they're not polling as high as they were. They're actually dropping it in the polls now. They really are. Polls are now putting them below Labour and below the Tories. And that's all due to what they've been doing recently. that when you're on a run, like the Reform Party was on a run, you don't suddenly change tack and become a party, and change from saying that you're a centre-right party to becoming the Liberal Democrats. You don't do that, because then all your support just falls away, as we're seeing at the moment. As we're seeing from within the party, we're seeing the branches quitting because they don't agree with the policies that the party has anymore. It's internal, so it's not just some outside influence that you're claiming. It's Nigel Farage himself, it's Zaya Youssef, it's the policies they're doing, and it's the actions they're taking from within the party that is destroying the Reform Party. And you here in this video are trying to remove all agency from Reform and saying it's not really their fault. It's not their fault it's happened, when in matter of fact, yes, it is their fault.
Refusal to listen to Rupert was incredibly damaging, and I think Rupert's inability to be a team player was
To be a team player, really. He was being a team player for months behind the scenes. He was campaigning for change from within the party to get concrete policies put in place so the Reform Party could be stronger going forward. And like I said before, he was ignored, he was ridiculed, he was isolated from meetings. So what other direction could he take but to criticise Nigel in public to try and force his hand? He had to do that. Sometimes being a team player is making the hard decisions. I know myself from my time in Iraq. I was a team leader out in Iraq. And sometimes you have to make the hard decisions. You have to question your leadership. You have to say, are you really sure this is the right decision that you're making here? We need to change tack and go in a different direction. That's what being a leader is all about. And Rupert Lowe is a leader. And having an ego at the top with a lot of yes men that never criticise the leadership isn't good for the country. We need people within the party that keep it on track and question leadership decisions if necessary. That has to happen. That's good leadership. And any good leader would respect anybody for doing that. Except Nigel Farage isn't a good leader. He's got a massive ego and he's fragile. He gets upset when he gets criticism and he lashes out. And the way that he lashes out is he gets rid of the people who threaten him and then he tries to smear them. That's what he does.
Incredibly damaging as well. But let's remind ourselves of what these men have achieved together. I think Rupert Lowe's performance in the House of Commons has been standout.
Right, let's look at that, shall we? Right, so we had statistics, right, of activity within Parliament from the Reform Party. So it came out that, Rupert Lowe was doing 47% of all the parliamentary work within Parliament. He asked over 900 questions in Parliament, where we had Farage who asked 38, we had Richard Tice who asked just, I think it was 120. So who out of all those people was doing all the work? Who should get all the credit for the Reform Party work? It should be Rupert Lowe, shouldn't it? Not Nigel Farage. He's been busy in America doing the talk circuit, earning money, hasn't he? Rupert Lowe hasn't. He's been fighting for his constituency. He donates his wage every month to local charities, helping his community. Do Farage, do Lee Anderson, do Tice do that? No, they don't. They're multimillionaires. They could do that if they wanted to. They just choose not to.
Or outstanding. Both. He has gone far, far further than anybody else in Reform and has proved himself to be the Jacob Rees-Mogg of Reform, or maybe the John Bercow of Reform, because when Bercow was a brilliant parliamentarian, by God he was, before he went a bit nuts. He has been proved to be that. The media star, obviously Nigel Farage, the safe man, the safe pair of hands, and his hands are huge, by the way. Richard Tice, that's the sort of thing, and the bruiser who can keep the back benches in position when they get that number of people. Lee Anderson.
What a load of bollocks. Richard Tice comes across as a really shit game show host. He's got no charisma. The guy's got no backbone at all. Look at him in interviews. He folds like a piece of paper when asked questions. He's shocking. Nigel Farage, not good in interviews. He may be good at making speeches in Parliament that are written for him, but he's not very good in interviews at all. He's rubbish when he's asked the hard questions. In fact, when he's asked the hard questions, he just ignores them, says boring, and walks on. He's rubbish. He's not the great speaker people make him out to be. I haven't seen these fantastic speeches that he used to make in the European Parliament at any time in Parliament, in Westminster Parliament at all. So he's talking rubbish.
It's a good team. And I know...
It's not a good team. It's not a good team. When you've got a team leader that won't listen to the rest of the team, and that if you step out of line, you're gone, even though you're right in what you're saying, won't listen. That's poor leadership. That's poor decision making.
That everybody wants to kick off. But let me just return to the Christians. That Christian standing there on his own with a megaphone is standing there on his own. He will never, ever get a gang of followers, because his gang of followers will never be good enough for him. What you actually have to do is do what the moderates do within Christianity.
So really, what you're saying is Nigel Farage is the one with a megaphone, shouting at everybody, shouting about how good he is and how much better he is than everybody else. So really, if your analogy you could use against Nigel Farage as well, because he's always going to be on his own. He's always going to be on his own at the top, because he can't accept anybody sharing power with him. He just can't. That's why he refuses to hand over power to the membership and make them members, because they are subscribers at the minute. Because he doesn't want anybody else having the ability to remove him as leader. And that's a poor leader, in my opinion.
Is get people on board, be a leader. And I think that there needs to be more leadership from both Farage and from Rupert Lowe. And
what a load of horse shit. Rupert Lowe has shown nothing but leadership. Nigel Farage, on the other hand, is scared of others being leaders around him, because he's scared that they will challenge him for being leader.
Part of that leadership, I think, is the kiss and make up between the two of them. I think Ben Habib...
Right, let's have a look at that. Would you really want to make friends with somebody that's tried to ruin your career? Personally, Andre, would you do that? If somebody that's gone out of their way to absolutely wreck your life and destroy you as a person, character assassinate you in the press, would you really want to make friends with that person and rejoin a party that has nothing but contempt for you? I don't think you would. And again, you're talking absolute bollock.
Should broker the deal, because he knows both and is highly trusted. He is the kind of pope, if you like, of our religion, of patriotism and right-wingery. God, the religious metaphors have gone far too far. But that's what we have to do. And we have to take seriously this concept of not saying, I support him or I support him, and take seriously this concept of not saying, I'm not what...
That's exactly what we have to do. If the Reform Party isn't offering us what we need, we have to say, I don't support them anymore. I now support these people because they are offering everything that I need going forward. They are going to deport all the illegal immigrants that are already here. They're going to stop the small boats. They're going to save the country. They're going to make our streets safe again for my family to walk around and feel like they could be safe. The Reform Party is offering none of that. They're not. Nigel Farage has said in his mealy-mouthed words at that conference that he is just going to deport all those that have come here illegally. So in that statement, he's not addressing the fact he's going to deport all the people already here. He's just talking about the people that arrive after he has got into number 10, if he gets into number 10. So he's still not saying that he's going to deport all the illegal immigrants that are already here. He's not saying that at all. He's just reworded what he originally said to make it sound like that's what he means, when in reality he doesn't.
Watching Andre anymore because he hasn't supported Rupert, or I'm not watching my Tuesday anymore because he's not supporting Nigel. We have to get into the mindset of recognising that unity is strength and disunity is weakness. And that, I hope, is the truth about Nigel Farage versus Rupert.
Yeah, you've offered no truth in your video at all. It's misinformation. It's provable misinformation. And if you look at all the facts, you look at all the interviews with Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage, you can clearly tell who the deceitful one is being. And it's not Rupert Lowe, it's Nigel Farage. Because we can look at the evidence. We can look at the evidence of where he's been deceitful. You know, you only have to look recently at the way he handled the whole case, that the leaked WhatsApp messages, where he stated that the only reason that he did the investigation wasn't because of the things that Rupert Lowe had done or allegedly had done. It was because he damaged the party. So it was Nigel Farage taking revenge on Rupert Lowe for challenging his leadership. And I'm sorry, Andre, but somebody like that, somebody who's willing to lie about one of their own MPs because they feel threatened by them, isn't somebody I particularly want in number 10 Downing Street. It isn't. I don't want them as leader of any political party. Nigel Farage shouldn't be near power whatsoever, and I agree with Rupert Lowe on that one. Nigel Farage should never be Prime Minister of this country for that reason, because he's a narcissist. He doesn't care about the people of this country. He doesn't give a toss. He's an old school class snob. Doesn't like the working class, just looks down on us, and just doesn't give a shit about anything that we're concerned about. If he did, he'd be spot on by saying, yeah, we need to deport all the illegal immigrants already here. We need to make our streets safe again. We need to make our communities safe again. But he's not saying any of that. He's just becoming more the mainstream, more of a liberal leader in order to cozy up to the mainstream media press. That's all he's interested about, is his public image. And we don't want a leader like that. We've had enough leaders like that in the past, over the past 50 years, haven't we? We just don't want them. So your video is just total bollocks. And as we can see, I will no longer be following you because, yeah, you've made your decision and I've made mine. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. Not interested. Not interested now you've said that. I can't trust anything you say anymore because your video is full of misinformation, apologising for Nigel Farage, and just a joke really. This is Vindicator, signing off.